Go ahead.
Hey guys, welcome to AIR Reptile Rescue. Today we're going to talk about things to consider before you buy a reptile. We're going to talk about the cost of an enclosure and necessities, and for that enclosure, and we're also going to talk about the average cost of feeding your reptile. Let's head to the back. We're actually going to take Patty with us. As you can see, she's kind of moving around on Dad right now. But we're going to go to the back and we're going to talk about enclosures and stuff like that I have for my ball pythons and the cost of what enclosures will run at your local pet stores and hides and things like that. So we'll talk about the different options that you have. So let's head to the back while she's massaging my neck. Crazy snake. But we're also going to talk about how it's going to differ for cost on different species of reptiles. Like it may be cheaper for you to buy something for your lizard than it would be for your snake, especially if it needs a smaller enclosure. We'll kind of mention frogs too. I love Pac-Man frogs. I'm looking to get one soon. But one of the things to consider is that they don't need a huge enclosure, so you have to kind of factor in that cost too. But it all depends on what reptile you want and what it will cost for that reptile. But if we come back here, as you can see, Zeusy is being a goof today. But we're going to talk about enclosures. Specifically, I'm going to talk about snake enclosures. As you can tell, I have Patty out. Probably going to put her back part of the video because she's kind of a little bit antsy now. She's been out for a little bit. But for a 40-gallon enclosure, like Patty's, over at PetSmart, about $125 to $140 for an empty enclosure with nothing inside. Let's go ahead and go next to the hides, water bowls, things like that. Kind of some of the decorations I have for her. But first we're going to do the hides. With your hides, you always want to have one on each side for your snake. This one is a half coconut. Patty loves it. She's always inside of it for some reason. But well, I kind of know the reason she feels secure. It gives her cover. But with this hide, it would start about $7. Hides can go up to from $7 on up to $40, depending on the size of the hide and the kind of hide you get. Things like that. They do make the half coconut hides. They make log hides. They make rock hides. They also have plastic hides, like with Xena's cage. I would show you, but she's in shed, so we're not going to mess with her. But I'll give you an example of how I did her enclosure. It's a temporary enclosure, so don't worry. She's not going to stay like that. She will have the things I want her to have that I know is going to cost me, but in the long run, she's going to be a happy snake. That's what matters the most. Next, we're going to go over to this water bowl down here at the bottom. It is the larger water bowl, so it is more expensive. Water bowls, depending on the size for your snake, I always go with the biggest one due to the fact that I want them to have enough room to kind of swim around and curl up and be able to soak comfortably. But with Patty's, I'd say about $22.99 to $25.99, depending on where you get it from. Maybe a little bit more, especially with the big box stores like Petco and PetSmart. With her, for her substrate, I recommend and use Reptibark or Reptichip. It all depends on the size bag you get. Luckily for Xena's cage, I got a bag of Reptibark for $9, normally $12.99 for an 8-quart bag. They do range into larger sizes it can range anywhere from the $13 on up to $30. It depends on where you get it at and who has the better deal. If you join Petco or PetSmart Rewards, you usually get coupons for different things. That's why I got the $3 off. I do not recommend an aspen bedding. The reason I'm saying this, it's my personal opinion, but I had a snake that was eating one day and got aspen bedding in his mouth. He swallowed that aspen bedding with his feed. Luckily, he digested it with his feed, and it came out. But you do have to factor in that it could cause what's called impaction. Impaction is where it blocks up their stomach to where they cannot digest their food and they can't properly pass it. It can be a very, very costly vet bill, and if not cared for, it can lead to the death of your snake. So, like I said, we don't recommend aspen. It's a personal preference of mine because of one bad experience. That's why I've moved to something that I've had better experience with. Reptibark, Reptichip really actually holds humidity better too. I don't have heat tape in my snake's cage. They don't need it. They're Reptibark. Their humidity is great. Their temperatures are great. Next, I'm going to talk about like this tree log type deal. Let me move over to this side of the camera so that you can actually see it a little bit better. But we're going to talk about the tree log here. That one at the pet store. Petco and PetSmart sometimes don't have ones like that. So it's best to go to like your local mom and pop pet stores where they have more wood items like that. That would cost me about $15-20 depending on where I go. And also depending on how close I am with the pet store owner. As I said, I do like my mom and pop stores a little bit better because I do get better deals. One of the other things we're going to talk about with the enclosure is heating. You always want the proper heating for your reptiles. With Patty, I have her on a lamp. This right here is a 5.5 inch dome lamp. That would cost, I'd say, about $16.99, $17.99. Maybe a little bit more. Like Petco, I think is like $21.99. It all depends on the size and where you buy it from for the cost. They do have an 8.5, $19.99 at my local pet store to $21.99, and then Petco, like I said, can be a little bit more expensive, or PetSmart, depending on where you get it from. The bulbs, I'm going to tell you now, are not like you're buying a house bulb for your light inside of your house. These bulbs are specially made for these reptiles. They do range from $7 to $30, depending on the wattage of the bulb, what the bulb is used for. It also depends on like what bulb it is. Like for example, there's something called a ceramic heat emitter, a CHE bulb. Those will be pretty pricey. They're great for your reptiles though. You don't really need something that puts out light. You just really need a heat source for your reptile. Next, we're not really going to bother Xena too much tonight. As you can see, Patty's kind of chilled out, kind of moving around. But with Xena's cage, we have what's called an under tank heater. All it is basically a heating pad that sticks to the bottom of their cage, and it provides belly heat for your reptile. With Xena's, she's in a 20 gallon, so I'd say $25 for that heat pad. Now say if I was to put that here in Patty's cage, with hers being a 40 gallon tank, I want to get the one that's rated for a 30 to 40 gallon tank. That will cost me, let's say, $34.99 up to $45.99. I've seen them go that high. Some places I've actually seen higher than that. I think it's too expensive. For the ones that have them, almost $50-60 for them. But that's just my opinion. I am willing to go that high if I needed to. if that was the only place I could buy it from. But I always do look for the deals so that I can put more money into this rescue and help more reptiles in need. With Patty, we kind of went to the Dollar Tree. We got her these little decorations for the outside of her cage. If you get anything that sticks to the glass of the cage, other than like a background or something like that to make like a block out of the sides and back of their cage, please do not put anything that is adhesive in the cage with the reptile. It will get stuck to the reptile. Whenever you go to take it off, it could damage their scales and it could hurt them. So what we did is we got the gel stick-ons from the dollar store for $1. They're on the outside of her cage. They look amazing. They're Halloween. We also got her this little coffin deal that is just for show. She doesn't go in there or anything. She will go around it and stuff like that. But it is $1 over at Dollar Tree. Awesome thing. I love it. The last thing we're going to mention in her enclosure, you can put anything you like for decorations. You really can. For her, I got her a red and black skull because I love Halloween. She loves skulls just like her daddy. So, we do have that for her. Now I'm going to talk about a kit that you can get for beginner snakes. It's a 20-gallon system. It's called the Premium Snake Kit. It runs anywhere from $210 to $250, depending on where you're at. Sometimes if you go even higher, you will raise the cost to about $300, depending on where you're at. It's all up to you on really what you want to get for your reptile. I always recommend get the largest that you can. That will give them room to grow, room to move, room to be comfortable and safe. Next, we're going to talk real quick on average cost of feeding. With Patty here, she's about $4 a week for medium mice. Because right now my local guy does not have rat pups. I'm hoping he can get some soon for me. With Xena, she's fed every 2 weeks due to her size, and she's on medium rats. Rats are more nutritious than mice. They have more nutrients in them for your snake, so it's always best to try to get rats, like rat pups, rat fuzzies, weaned rats, things like that. But with Patty, with Xena, wrong girl. She is on medium rats. They cost me about $7 every 2 weeks. So her average monthly cost is $14. Not too bad. Really is not. The most I've seen for even a jumbo rat for her whenever she gets up to a jumbo rat is it's going to cost me about $10 to $11 for a jumbo rat for a feeder. Still not expensive. Now, let's factor in if you get a lizard. You have to get greens, you have to get mealworms, you have to get crickets, things like that. Your cost will start to rise. You also have to include calcium powders and vitamin powders, which we'll talk later on whenever we get more into lizards. So those are costs that you want to factor in before purchasing your reptile. Next, we're going to talk about, are you willing to overcome your fear of the reptile before purchasing it? For example, my fiance did not want me getting this snake. I had a children's python. He was 5.5 feet long. He was cage aggressive. The owners before me overfed him. So every time he opened his cage, he thought it was time to eat. My fiance was afraid of being bitten. I was bitten about 2 or 3 times by him. So we still got him. I loved on him like usual. Every time I'd get him out, he was completely fine. He was chilled out. Xena, she has a little bit of an attitude problem, but we're working on that. It's more or less, she still thinks that she's still shy, so she still thinks that, hey, you're a threat to me because you're bigger. So she does strike out. She's done it to me. She's done it to my fiance. But let's get back to talking about Slash and how to overcome your fear. My fiance was scared of him. One day I looked at her and said, "How much do you trust me?" We've been together a year. I feel like we've built some trust. She was pretty trusting of me. I asked her to put out her hands. I took Slash out, let her notice that he was all calm and relaxed, and I placed Slash in her hands. Ever since then, she doesn't have a problem with big ball pythons or children's pythons or anything like that. As long as a snake is not 13 to 16 feet long, she's pretty good about it. She'll look at them if they're over 10 feet. She doesn't really want to hold them because she's afraid they're going to wrap her. I'm trying to get her over that fear. Another fear that her and I are trying to get her over is she's afraid of iguanas because of how large they can get. Iguanas can get up to 6 feet long. I used to own one. I loved him to death. Unfortunately, me moving whenever I was younger, we had to get rid of him. We brought him to a good home. He lived out the rest of his life there. But we have a local pet store by us that has a nice sized iguana named Harold. And what we're going to do is, one of these days we're going to talk to the owner over at Pet Express in Houma, which if you guys are here local to us in Houma, Louisiana, please check them out for your reptile stuff. For anything you have for your fish. They even have dog food, cat food, birds, hamsters, gerbils, guinea pigs. We love it there. But they have Mr. Harold. He is a pretty large iguana, and my fiance is still afraid to really even try to stick her finger in there and say hi to him. So there's days where she'll pass him up. We will get her over that fear. We're going to talk to Mr. Pat, and we're going to work with her and help her with handling and things like that, and learning that not all reptiles are bad, not all lizards are bad lizards. There are some iguanas that, yeah, they have an attitude. They will use their tail and whip you with it. It's something that's going to happen. Just like with our snakes. You do have that chance of getting bitten with a snake. It's not the bite that's going to hurt you. It's going to be the shock of, oh my gosh, you just bit me. It's barely going to bleed. You're barely going to notice it. In all honesty, I was bit by my fiance's tarantula tonight. She sunk her fangs into my finger pretty good. It surprised me. It hurt a little bit because their fangs do go in pretty deep. But am I scared of her? No. I'm still going to handle her. I'm still going to love her. So that's one of your things you want to factor in. Are you willing to overcome that fear? Another thing to consider is, let's say with Patty here, with her being a female ball python, whenever she's full grown, she's going to be close to 4 to 6 feet and weigh, I'm hoping, anywhere from 1,800 grams to 2,100 grams. I don't want her to really be too big because I don't want her to be considered obese. But even if she is, I'm still going to love her. She's still going to be my girl. Also, consider how long they live. With Patty, I'm 34 years old now. Whenever she passes, I'm going to be 64 to 84 years old, which means that she's going to live 30 to 50 years. I'm willing to walk that walk with her until her last breath. I'm going to love her till the very end. Here at our rescue, she is one of our rescues. Since she was found by our friend, she has reached a milestone that we're happy about. She was weighed yesterday, weighs in at 212 grams, which is great. She's gaining weight like she's supposed to. She's growing like she's supposed to. As you can see, she's kind of smelling around and moving. She's loving her attention and loving the fact she gets to rub on Daddy and hold on. But let's go ahead and start trying to wrap this up, because we're going to talk more about the proper handling and care of your reptiles. We're going to talk more about prices on certain species of reptile. We're going to talk about size ranges for certain species on your different reptiles as we get to those videos. Our first series is going to be on ball pythons. One of my favorite snakes, one of the ones I feel is a great beginner as a new owner. But the next videos that we're going to talk about, or that we're going to have for you guys, is Best Reptiles for Beginners, where we're going to talk about different species of snakes, different species of lizards. Really, any frogs are great for beginners. Like I said, it's just overcoming your fear, really. We'll talk about them more in depth and the breeds and stuff like that, and what's great about them and what makes them good for beginners. And that's going to be in a 2-part video. And that will come out Wednesday and Thursday. So even if I have to go somewhere where there's Wi-Fi to get these videos to upload faster, I'm willing to do that for you guys to help y'all learn more about these reptiles. This is something I love. Like I say for AIR Reptile, we do what we love what we do. These girls are our reason to do what we love. Like I said, we're going to go ahead and start wrapping up. Please like and subscribe our YouTube channel. Hit that bell notification so every time I post a video, you get notified there's a new video that you can watch. Patty may be out, I don't know. Xena may be out. There's no telling. I may even have a new rescue and be able to video that one too with you and show you more about that rescue. So, like I said, go ahead and check us out. We do have our reptile rescue page at AIR Reptile Rescue on Facebook. Please check us out there. Leave a comment below if you have questions. Message me on Facebook through the reptile page. It pops up AIR Reptile Rescue, new message. I'm going to respond as quickly as possible. If it's early morning hours, I'm most likely sleeping around 4 a.m. to 7 a.m. If I don't respond on Messenger and it's urgent, please text me. My number is on my Facebook page. Do not hesitate to send me a text saying, hey, I need help. I am here for you guys. I will be here for you guys as long as I'm making these videos, as long as this rescue is open. There are other reptile groups I would like to recommend to you. Send me a message on Facebook and I'll recommend them to you. There's some great groups out there. I'm part of a bunch of them. So we're going to say goodnight with Patty. She's getting a little bit antsy. I think she's maybe wanting to go to bed. So we're going to say goodnight from AIR Reptile Rescues and Patty. Xena's already sleeping. But we really do appreciate you guys coming to check out our videos. We thank y'all. And we hope to see y'all soon. And like I said in the first video, y'all come back now.